Hey, I hope you're all good. I want to share with you one of my recent shots from a workshop. Now, this is the simplest shot we did. This is sort of like the beginner shot of the workshop. Just to sort of show you what it is we get up to on these workshops. They're digital downloads, but I want to give this out to you for free so you can see what we do. Hopefully you learn something from it as well. And if it's the sort of thing that interests you, you can find a link down below to it. And if not, please enjoy the free content. Now, these two shots we're going to do together. Not together, but they're kind of direct opposites of one another. So we're going to take the same shot. We've got Guinness, and for those who don't know, this is a black stout looking drink. And it has this particular way of settling, which is quite beautiful. And that's what we're going to try and capture. Then we have Stella, which was on special offer, which is the sort of go-to beer in Belgium. It's like the standard beer. It has really nice bubbles. Now, although these are two very different drinks and we're doing them the same, it's also very different. So let me try and explain them one at a time, but the shoot for this will be one video. With this here, it's a macro shot of the bubbles, and we're going to sculpt the bubbles as if they were a tomato almost. So the placement of the catch light is going to be very important. The size of the bubbles is going to be very important. The amount of light that we let through and the direction in which it comes through is going to be very important. This beer here is about the same density as a Red Bull. It is not particularly dark. It's going to let a lot of light through. We're going to have no problems getting light into this. If anything, we're going to have problems getting the colour right. This, on the other hand, is black. Now, if you photograph a black substance in a glass jar with a flash, you have problems. You can try and light it from the back, but again, you will have problems. This is going to require a lot of manipulation of the ambient light, and you'll see what I mean as we get into this shot. And it's also going to take a lot of trial and error, because although the bubbles will react to a bamboo chopstick, once you've poured this, it's done with. Hopefully my neighbours will be in and we can give them loads of free Guinness, but this will take a while. And it's going to be a particularly tricky way of lighting it. I would draw it on the board, but I don't think it's going to help us understand it, so we're just going to dive right into getting this one done. These two shots here, they won't need that much retouching. It'll be more colour grading, and that's something I do personally, so I'll talk you through that myself, but it's probably not something we need to bother the retoucher with. With a shot like this, a lot of it is down to trial and error. So we've taken probably about 300 frames. We've tried some pouring, some settling, some whisking it around a bit, adding extra drops in the top. But the main thing to note is the difference in the light quality and how we're making it dark and moody. These bellows style lens hoods are incredibly useful for this. If you're ever like somewhere at the zoo and you want to photograph an animal behind the glass, to cut the reflection out, you obviously have to put some black cloth down, one of those weird lens things that people try and sell you. But it's the same for food and drink photography, and having this here that you can just pull out to fully block the light coming in on the sides of the glass is so useful. It's almost better than a polarizer. But then we have the added obstructions that this is a dark liquid, and red wine's very similar, especially once it's in a green bottle. Whereas the lager, which is a very light liquid, that actually takes in a lot of the light, it'll pass through it, and it gives a very different look. But hopefully between these two here, you can apply it to most drink things. And if you take this approach and the vodka bottle approach and combine the two, then you have something where you can photograph a whole product in one go, which is a little bit more complex. You need to add the sort of layers together. And there's a few like contradictions now and again where you go, well, I need this light here for this, but for the other one, I need it here. Sometimes it's a case of taking shot A and shot B and comping them together. And other times it's just compromising with the lighting position, which is why modeling lights are so useful. So often when I'm doing these, I'll put these modeling lights on just so I can have a look at what exactly is going in, what's coming out the other side, if we're getting any diffraction or reflections of stuff on the table. And they're really useful things to have. It's one of the benefits of studio lights over like a speed light, for example. But all these like Pixapro ones, they all come with these little LED modeling lights. So yeah, pretty useful stuff. Anyway, we're gonna hang this over into post with Rob and then see what we get as a final image. So as the eagle-eyed of you will have noticed, there was no pre-production meeting for this particular shot with Rob, and that is not uncommon. There are certain things that I am able to just do by myself, or that I can easily sort of, sort with my own very limited skill set. And I wanted to show you how that can happen and how I can do that. Let me switch these emails off because they'll be incessant. There we go. So this is the shot we're going to go for. And the reason is we've got nice sharp bubbles at the top, and then all this chaos swirling underneath it. And I kind of like it, but we do have the odd reflection and speckle and all the rest of it. So this is the color grade we're using during the shoot. So if we look here, here's before, this is the raw image. And you can see what we've done is we've just pushed the contrast, especially in the highlights, to move them further away. Now there's some weird stuff going on here. Here's double bubbles. That sounds a bit Cockney. They shouldn't be there. That's a fault of the flash, or one of the flashes I was using, or the method I was triggering it with. I'm not sure. I need to look into that. But let's say we're sort of happy with the grade here. Maybe let's punch in a little bit more black. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I keep this within my session in Capture One. I go right click, I go edit with an Adobe Photoshop, and we let that open itself up. 16-bit TIFF. Adjustments, respect the crop. So it keeps it like this. No output sharpening. Yep. Edit variants. So this will then create a new file in here, which is the TIFF, with all of this baked into it. And then we're going to edit that TIFF. Now, you're about to see, well, there's many reasons to work with a professional retoucher. One is you'll have seen how long it takes Rob to edit these, and Rob is one of the fastest retouchers I know. And I am not fast at it, so there's that to take into consideration. There's also the quality as well. So he is both better and faster than me. So whilst he is doing the editing, I can be doing other work that I'm good at. And that's a good way for me to increase my income. And that's in several ways. It's not just a case of, I can increase my income because I can work more. I can also increase my income because I can rest more, which might sound a little bit ridiculous. But part of being able to be a professional photographer is having time to think and having time to actually come up with the ideas and concepts, and being able to outsource some of the work is a really good way to be able to do that. So first thing we do, and this is like Photoshop for dummies. So if you've never used this before, you'll be able to do what I'm doing here. So Command J to create a new layer. You should really name your layers, but because I'm me, I don't. We then go into here and spot healing brush. Now all I'm going to do is tidy up the image. So I'm just going to zoom in a little way. There we go. I've got my little Wacom tablet, and we just go tidy it up. There we go. And I often do the tidying up of my images. I find this bizarrely therapeutic. anything which I think, like this dot here, doesn't add anything, but it does make it look cluttered and takes away from the image, we'll just brush it away. And this is kind of the extent of my Photoshop skills. I'm good at color grading, but Photoshop itself, I just find it laborious and boring, and this is about as much as I'd ever want to do in it. Other people live for it and absolutely love it, and it's fine. Whichever way you are, go with it. But if, like me, you don't like doing it, don't feel any shame in outsourcing it. For a long time, I used to think, oh no, I'm outsourcing my work. But then I realized that all photographers outsource their retouching for pro jobs because you want a specialist, which is obviously something I harp on about all the time, but you don't want to retouch your own work when there's someone out there who specializes in retouching and they will do the absolute best, most perfect job. Also, the clone tool's so good these days. Look at that. So also you don't need to try. So this is obviously a very quick slapdash thing, so I don't really have to watch me do all of the awfulness. Can we? This will be amazing if this works. Just brush out all of these bubbles up here. It's nice to have a nice solid head. I doubt this will work well, but you'll get... Maybe this is something I should have given to Rob because I don't have the patience to sit here and do this. But this is bizarrely working well. And this is the latest version of Photoshop. There we go. Okay, so if we just quickly zoom out, go off, see all the mess, on. So this bubble here is also distracting me. And I often do go back and forth, going off and on and off and on. That bit there is a bit distracting. I like this bubble here. It adds a bit of interest and randomness to the whole thing. So there we go. Now all you have to do is click close, save. Okay, and then we head back to Capture One. And here we have our CR2. And here we have our TIFF. And it will suddenly update once it's loaded. There we go. Loaded all that information in. We're just going to do a quick recrop because I want to lose the very top of this. There we go. And there's our image. And that's sort of how I do it. And this is a nice detail shot here. It's your classic Guinness sort of bonanza. And obviously because the glass is curved, there's a bit of haze here, but it turns out I smashed my perfectly square thing that I would have used. And then what else might I do to this? I think I might lighten it up a bit. So I'm just going to get the brush, draw mask. I'm just going to do this. Because I feel that this side is a bit darker than it should be. Then all we're going to do is go to exposure, just push it a little bit there. There we go. Perfect. And there's our image. That's the final thing. And this is heading over to Instagram soon.